All right, so let's start our 15 minutes now because I want to be mindful of that. So, do you want to start with what you submitted, or do you want to go ahead and because there's a lot, I can go in different directions. So, how did we get started, or how does the process work?
I guess more so, how does that process work, specifically with like the insurance space?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, the way the process works is essentially when you have a home like yours that's a furnished accommodation, you're only a few tweaks away, right? What you need to do is you want to make sure that um, your property is available for these insurance or relocation specialist companies to find you. So essentially, the process is at high level. It's when a family needs to be relocated in temporary housing, um, they need like 3 months, 2 months due to an unforeseen event due to water damage, due to a fire, etc. So what they'll do is they'll then work with their insurance company. Their insurance company will have an allotted amount of money that they can have to then relocate temporarily. And what these insurance companies work with is relocation agencies like an ALE Solutions, CRS, Temp Housing, THD. There's tons out there, and you can look them up. But essentially, the state farm to all states, they're not the ones relocating the family. They're working with temporary housing companies, and those are going to want to be the companies that you place your property into their databases so that they have you in their database so that when they do need to relocate a family temporarily that they can find you within their database, right? So State Farm will work with an ALE solution, all state farmers, to relocate families. Why? Because when you reach out to them directly, they'll let you know that we want to work with a provider that can handle the volume of claims that we get per month, per day, per quarter, right? So our goal, the lowest hanging fruit, is to go to these relocation companies and make sure we raise our hands and let them know that we understand the model and how they work and that we have furnished accommodations available. So the way you would transition into it is the best thing that I would do is enter the property in the databases, right? So for example, have you heard of alsolutions.com?
I have, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
just through your content. Yeah,
Yeah. I would have you entered your property there on their
I
within their
have
database.
not.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds, right? You can do that as soon as you get off the call. Now you've given yourself the chance. Zillow Rental Manager. I would go on there because that's where the relocation specialists are looking. They're looking everywhere on the net. They'll go with their database first, and then they'll go on the net, and then even leverage Airbnb, right? So that's the number one. And then you said, what kind of amenities would you need to support a midterm rental? So keep in mind when you're doing a midterm rental insurance day, you're only initially setting them up for the first month or so. So what I mean by that is treat it like an Airbnb stay, right? Whatever toilet paper is there is the toilet paper that's there. When they run out, it's on them to restock, right? And like you could be, the way I call it, Sabio, is you have a property when they move in, they still have linens, they still have sheets. If they're gonna need more, right after, they can get some of their own. It's not like they're gonna call you and be like, "Hey, these linens are dirty. We need you to bring in new ones." No, it's a one and done, hands off. The amenities are you're including internet. The reason why we can charge a premium, Eusebio, is because um what we're telling these insurance companies is instead of you going to the hotel and paying an arm, which is not an ideal, by the way, setup for them because it's just not as spacious. Some of them are not pet friendly. They have pets. They need a large home. If they came from a home, in order for them to accommodate their lifestyle, they're going to need to be in a home that suits kind of where they came from. And so, you know, when you think about relocating a family, you want to include the Wi-Fi, right? Utilities is included, but most people always forget to put a utilities cap. You don't want to forget to put a utilities cap because if you don't put a cap on, someone who wants to take long showers, leave all the lights on. If you don't have that in there in your contract, they're going to run up the bill. We usually do a utility cap of 500, right? Which means that if you exceed 500, you're going to pay out of pocket, right? That's just, again, with respect to your marketplace. If there's utilities that are higher, you should factor that in. But you want to include Wi-Fi, you want to include utilities on, and then keep in mind if they walk the property, if they need something, just don't be a penny wise and a dollar foolish, right? Like you want to make sure if they need a grill, like we've gotten people grills because they're gonna be there for a while and we didn't have a grill. Now, am I gonna get them a fire pit? Maybe no, but am I gonna get them something like, oh, you need a stand-up desk? Sure, we'll get you a stand-up desk because you work from home. Because at the end of the day, they're walking multiple properties, and we want to make sure when they walk ours that we always have someone on site that can take their feedback. So we tell them we want to secure that deal right there, right then and there, and then if they need little things, we'll be like, yeah, no problem, we'll get you that, right? Oh, extra monitor, yeah, no problem, we'll get you an extra monitor for that room, right? So just keep in mind that that's kind of the experience. These are the amenities you would include as well. And then you have one. How would one get started? I think that goes back to how we got here is to
Mhm.
start with the
Yeah.
database. Furnished Finder, Airbnb. The big thing with Airbnb is being searchable, being foundable. A lot of people are just not making themselves searchable, and we have a strategy where we go ahead and make sure we have two listings, right? And one listing is going to be 30 days minimum, and it allows us to then actually get the inquiries and start the conversation from there. Plenty more behind that strategy, but that's even how you can get started. A lot of people are just not available, and not even searchable in these databases.
Yeah. I guess like for us, we when we started the Airbnb thing, it was
Mhm.
strictly short-term rentals. And I think, we kind of got a little hesitant to open it up to longer than 29 days, simply for, someone not wanting to leave, or, whatever the case is, where we had to go through like that eviction process.
Mhm.
Um, but, I, I hate to go outside of the three question limit. But in your experience, is that
Mhm.
something you've had to deal with often?
No, no, and here's why, right? And here's what people need to understand. You are setting up a contract with the insurance company as the payee. They're financially responsible, right? So while yes, you're 100% correct with the 30-day kind of extension, your or 30-day stay, they have tenant rights and all that. Keep in mind, this is a very different avatar. This is not, I'm not taking somebody from the street that we don't know. This is somebody that came with a corporation that's paying for their repairs to be done. They have all the incentives in the world to go back to their home once it's repaired. And if they don't, the conversation is going to be with USAA, State Farm, and it's going to be a very odd conversation because they're the ones footing the bill. So why would they overstay? We're dealing with corporate. Like corporate is actually paying us, not the tenant. The only thing that the tenant is paying us is their security deposit, which doesn't come directly through them. It comes via the relocation company. So it's in their best interest to leave the property as they found it because they're not getting their security deposit back. And if they overstayed, it would be like a conversation with ALE and the corporation. It'd be a corporate conversation that you're having. Like your
Mhm.
client is still here. Why? Right? Which is a very like they don't want to burn the relationship with their insurance company that's paying for their repairs and their claim, right? Like you have to keep in mind. So this is I understand it's a valid concern, but it's not one we've ever had to face, whether ourselves or any of our students or anyone in our community, because you're dealing with corporations now. You're not dealing with a one Joe Schmo next door, which gives us the peace
Right.
of mind. And that's honestly why sometimes while you can do screening, sometimes we haven't done the screening because they're families and they're coming in through the insurance company that's liable, financially liable. Now, I'm not advertising that. I'm just letting you how peace of mind, how much peace of mind I have working directly with corporate. They're the ones paying us checks ahead of time before even the first of the month, and sometimes we even ask for the money up front, right? So it's a very different experience. Corporate is nice because they have the money, and it's not like you're gonna have to chase to find the money from the tenant itself. The only thing I would say, I'll leave you with this is try to make sure you don't kill the deal with having a very high security deposit, just because keep in mind that folks typical folks in America, might not have an extra like 5,000 just laying around, or 3,000. So we don't ever exceed even 2,000 on a security deposit, because that security deposit, the tenant does have to pay out of pocket to almost show that they have skin in the game. And they're, so they're going to take care of the property. It's not like, hey, all this is paid by the insurance company, let me trash this place. It's like, I'm not going to actually get my hard-earned money's worth of security if I don't leave the place the way I found it, right? So I hope that kind of puts a bow on that conversation, but it's not even something that even comes to mind at all.
Okay.
Yes, you're still going to want to have a lease, especially and the insurance company and the real. I should say, when I say the insurance company and relocation special company, I use them interchangeably, because it's almost like they're the representative of it. It's an extension of them.
Right.
You're always going to have a contract, and they're going to want to actually see a contract in place as well. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not a concern.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. No,
Cool,
this is
man.
very helpful. I certainly appreciate you taking the time to do
Of
this.
course. This is what we do, man. And listen, there's you're dialing in from where right now?
Charlotte.
Charlotte, right? So and this is important. I want to offer this to educate as many people as possible, because it helps us in the community. And so I'm glad you got some knowledge out of that. But like you said, what did I gotta ask you? I almost forgot to ask in the beginning, which I always do. I was too busy trying to look for that form. Where, besides Laura coming on the podcast, which was amazing, episode 209, where have you gotten the most kind of, or where did we rekindle on your, on the, which where did you hear of me from before this, or where are you getting most of your content from um to date?
Yeah, great question. So actually I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And anytime you're putting out something, because it's been so intriguing to me, the midterm rental space, insurance and relocation specialists. I tend to unmute that and listen to what you have to say. So after the like one of the most recent ones that you had put out is when I messaged you, and I was like, you know what, I just need to figure it out. I need to talk to
Yeah.
him and see what we can do.
Well, listen, what typically happens is you'll come on one of these, you'll plant the seeds, you'll do the work, and then you'll get your inquiry. And that's when I want you to hit me up, be like, Ruben, I got an inquiry. What do I do? You can always hop on a consult call or whatever, but I always want to hear back, because it could happen as early as tomorrow. It could happen next month. Obviously, we're in December right now. It could happen next year. It could happen in February, or it could happen in the next week, right? These things happen, and it's very prevalent. It's a lot more prevalent than we realize. So definitely encourage you to start the process, because once we did that, which was just by entering the property in the database, we never looked back after. And it's been very fruitful and rewarding, and it's an amazing feeling to help these families. And one of the things is, I'll leave you with, is they'll start with 1 month, but then they'll extend 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and it's just consistent, high occupancy and profitability. But yeah, man, trust the process, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, man.
Yeah, yeah, I will definitely keep you updated. I'm gonna go to that website right now after this and put our property in the system. And the main thing is like we're doing great with the Airbnb. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with it. And I think you see a lot of horror stories about posting gone wrong and things like that. That's not the
yeah,
case. I think for me, I just want to maximize our ROI. And if you look at it, any corporation, any company, they're always looking at growth, right? This is no
exactly.
different. I just am looking at a different strategy and saying, how can we grow this to even better? So
Absolutely. And then
that's
one of
that's
the
my
things I
main
always
motivation.
absolutely, and one of the things I always say is, you know, it's not one or the other. It's just add this to your strategy. It doesn't need to stop what's currently working. So I think you're looking at it the right way, man.
Cool.
Awesome. Well,
Sounds good,
listen,
man.
man.
Well, hey,
Happy New Year to you and Laura and the rest of the family, man. And send everybody my best.
yeah, yeah. Same to you, man. I certainly appreciate it. We'll catch up with you later.
Awesome, man. Salute. Take care,
All right.
brother.
Have a
Bye
good
bye.
one. Bye.
You too.